So Magnus, this is how you win your games of chess. You just play something boring as bore the opponents to death, or at least bore them to sleep, so then lose on time on the clock. Oh wait, Tang plays a move, bishop takes e6, like really? Oh, you got debated! You got debated, Penguin GM! I was gonna play my slow, boring chess, look like I'm just gonna have a quiet draw, go off to the movies, go watch the footy together after this game, but no, I debated you into going for the win, and now I unleash beast mode and win myself. Illingworth Chess, the best to improve your chess. What's up, guys? It's GM Max in the house, and we are going to learn how to play d4, d5. And how are we going to learn how to play it? What better role model than the current world champion, Magnus Carlsen? Well, I guess you could learn from Stockfish as well, but we listen to the humans, not those computers. So let's get into the game. Andrew Tang, known as Penguin GM all across the world, played c4. What if they don't play the move c4? Well, if they play a move like knight f3, we can put the knight on f6. If they play bishop f4, like there are so many systems against the London. What one do I choose? Let's go c5. Let's go knight c6, and if not c3, go queen b6, and say, oh, your bishop came out from the house too early. Now we go for b2, and look who's coming. Queen b3, we hit him with c4. We say queen b6, a b6, and rook. Oh yeah, I got an open file, baby. I got the pawns, push them, baby. Bishop f5, b5, b4, and let's roll. That would be really great for black. Double pawn's actually an advantage. Who would have guessed? But if you go queen c2, we go bam, little tactic in the mix. Bishop f5, sneaky trick. Queen takes f5. We'll run into queen takes b2, and yeah, thanks for the free rook, matey. But instead, after queen c1, we grab that bishop pair. We grab it with both hands, like with the move knight to h5. Come on, let me play it. Knight h5. Winning that bishop pair, we go e6, we castle. We get that stupid queen out of the way to go b5, b4, hit c3. And you can pretty much do this with your eyes closed, so it pretty much guarantees you're going to win the game by force. Computer is giving slight advantage for black. But we all know that when you have a GM telling you the moves at the start, it gives you that super confidence in knowing that you have special powers and no one can ever possibly take you down. So what if they don't play London? Yeah, you can still go c5. You can still do all the good stuff, like they go bishop d3. We can go knight c6, c3. And now bishop g4 is a fun move. We can just hit him like that. Go e6, castle. Pretty much play it like a queen's gambit with Carl's reverse. So it's pretty easy like to play d4, d5. If they don't play c4, we can hit them up with c5 and say, you missed your chance, buddy. I'm going to play your opening against you. Go on, take that. Go on. So have a little taste of your own medicine, bruh. So that's why Andrew Tang decided to play the Queen's Gambit with c4. Tang has been a London system player for a long time as well. But when you're playing against the world champion Magnus Carlsen, you need some real man openings, none of this boring system opening rubbish that people like to do. But instead, and if you do enjoy that kind of rubbish, I put a little link like up in the top or in the description where you can get your sort of London fix, bloody boring system opening players. But okay, let's get to the real man stuff. Because here there are a million moves black can play. I've covered the Queen's Gambit decline before. I've covered the Slav before. I could cover it again, but I know you don't want to hear me do something similar like 10 Stafford Gambit videos or whatever. So let's do something original. We'll let Carlsen play d takes c4. Queen's Gambit accepted, also known as the QGA. And what's cool about the QGA is that you're not playing it actually to take the pawn. You're not trying to hang on to this pawn. It's a little debate. So what's a debate? It's where we trick the opponent into thinking that we're going to do one thing, so they do something in reply, but we actually plan something a bit different. We do a ninja trick, we psych them out, and we get the win. And we see it happen in the game as well. Well, I played the move knight to f3. Now, one move that is not covered in the books, there are a lot of books being written about the Queen's Gambit accepted, and almost none of them seem to spill a lot of ink in a knight c3, like, oh, knight c3, absolutely horrible move. It's absolutely not worth deforesting all of those trees to cover such a terrible, terrible move. Okay, what's so terrible about it? Not that much, except that when black goes a6, well, you're not going to find it so easy to get that pawn back when I've got a little b5 and this actual little trap I can trick people with. If you go queen a4, now you're going to think b5, oh, big blunder, oh, the grandmaster is wrong, I was right, GM was wrong, I was right, GM was wrong, and then I say bishop d7, and who's laughing now? We won the knight. It's a trap that Laszlo Chabo, top Hungarian Grandmaster, once fell into. He couldn't live it down. He never managed to win the World Championship because he couldn't live with the shame of blundering knight on move 5. But okay, these jokes aside, what if they play some other move? Like, what if they take the center with e4? Well, then we just play b5, and hey, you got the center, but I got a pawn, and the material is king, baby. Now, if they play a4, trying to chip away at that pawn chain, we kick him back with b4. And now we see why it was so great to keep that long diagonal open. Because now after a move like e6, we can go bishop b7, we can hit that pawn, we go c5, hit the center, knight's in the center, and we are a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. If they were to play knight b1, like trying to keep the attack, or like knight a2 or whatever, well, we go bishop b7, and yeah, you just hit the pawn. And if they try to defend it, well, we go like knight c6, and hey, we just keep attacking, attacking, attacking. If we attack, they can't hit back. Well, that's not entirely true, but you get the idea. So what if they play like a big man move, e4, take that full center, get that smile structure on the board? Well, in that case, there are a lot of moves that black can play. What one do I recommend? I'm going to go with the move of e5. I actually did have a video earlier where I covered this fun exchange sack line with b5. It's a kind of line where if you like to roll the dice, if you like to say, well, the engine says +1, but I've worked out that I have a great fortress, so the engine doesn't understand depth 60. You know, when I get to step 61, finally is a forced draw. If that's your kind of jig, well, you can look up that video as well. But e5, like, this is the move that I think is the most reliable. The point is that if white were to go yum yum, we take, and hey, look at this, boys. We got knight c6, we're hitting the pawn. If they go f4 trying to defend the pawn, we can go like bishop to g4, just get that king, just pile up that king, like hit that king on d1, bishop e2, long castle, and they go knight d2, like we're just laughing, like h5, rip open the center with f6, get the knight out, get the bishop out, get the rook out, king's still in the center, facing bullets, like, it's kind of like one of those, like, you know, spaghetti westerns where it's like, and then suddenly, like, the guy, like, just is still alive, but not the white king, they're gonna get by bullets, because we're Clint Eastwood, baby! And if you want to be able to play chess like gunslinger Clint Eastwood, do make sure to smash that like button so I know to make more videos like this one. And comment below, which spaghetti western character do you think you play chess most like? And hopefully it's not the, what was the movie? I already forgot. You remind me like that reference, like a favorite Clint Eastwood movie. Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's the one. Like, don't play chess like the ugly unless it works. Like, you can play ugly if it's good, but if it's not good, don't play ugly. In any case, well, the better move for white is knight f3, and okay, now I'm already getting deep into the theory. That is what happens, like I just say, start talking about one thing, like 5 minutes later, like, yeah, now we're at move 20 of this correspondence game that shows that chess is a forced draw after all. You know, knight c6 and bishop e6 is the main line. This is the one that corresponds players say, would you like a draw at this point? They say, your engine is, 24 cores, mine is 64 cores. I'm going to play on because I have the stronger chess engine. Take that, punk. But of course you can't use engines during the actual game. So if you want, you can do a parts of plays of check with bishop to b4. Swing that knight over to c6. Go like knight f6 castle. And yeah, Bob's your uncle at this point. So yeah, now white decided to play the move. Instead, Tang, he didn't want to go for all this like fancy sharp stuff. He said, I'm playing Magnus Carlsen. I'm just going to play a solid game. I know it's bullet, but I'm just going to like keep it all solid. No weaknesses. Make an easy draw with white. Get ready for the next game. But instead of that, well, we saw what happened in the game. Knight f3, knight f6. I guess Tang didn't channel his inner Rajabov. Not so easy to be a Timur Rajabov, beast from Baku, successor to Garry Kasparov. Alright, so here's where Carlsen plays a little shortcut. Now, you may remember in the how to play d4, c4 video that we were talking about moves like e6 and how to play these kind of main lines like a6, b5 and all the good stuff. But here, Carlsen decides to play a little shortcut. And this shortcut is one that you can play pretty much with your eyes closed. It's a system opening within a system opening. It's kind of something you don't think is a system, but it actually is. So it really messes with the opponent's brain. And that is the move b5. Now, before you think, Max, the idea of this move is to defend the pawn, actually, that's not the case. The idea of the pawn is to defend the pawn in order to give it back later. Because, well, we're just feeling very generous and we want to allow the opponent to get that nice, safe position that they were after in order to get a nice, safe position ourselves. So how do we chip away at b5? We chip at the old block with a4. And the point of a4 is that if you try to defend that pawn with c6, well, what do you think would be the way that white would play now to put the pile on that pawn chain? Now, it's a good moment to pause the video. Now, make sure to comment below the move that you would play as white in this position. I know you're looking at it from black's perspective, but I know like a lot of people watching, like they played like sort of one-player chess. One-player chess where you only think about the moves from your perspective, and the opponent just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're Magnus Carlsen, if it's Bobo the Chimp, like, it doesn't matter, we're just going to play the same moves. But the really nuanced chess players are able to get inside the opponent's head, think, okay, what's this person planning? What is their evil scheme for world domination? And they would realize that the key move is to play b3. Well, you could play ab5 and then b3. It's going to come to the same thing. So you get full marks either way if you found either of these moves. And the point is that, well, you can't really defend that pawn that easily. Like, this guy's a dead man walking. But instead, if you go like cb3, well, then we go Negan style. We get out our battler seal with a takes b5. And the point is that if we go captures, they go captures. And then after they go captures again, I mean, if you're going to go captures, don't make it that they're making all the captures and you're not making any. Like, that's not really equal and that's not really fair. But we can see when the dust is settled, White's got that beautiful center. He's got the lead in development. He's got a little target on a7 to pew at. So therefore, instead of trying to hang on to this pawn, it's already dead weight. Like, this c4 guy there has already been infected with the zombie bite. You can't heal him anymore. Let's get rid of him before he turns. So we had to move b4. Bishop takes c4. e6. And now, the genius move for White, which none of your opponents are probably going to know unless they watch and are subscribed to anything worth chess. So hit that subscribe button to find out the secret recipe, the Grandmaster secret to deal with this sneaky b4 move. The answer is that when you want to try to play like a Grandmaster or try to play a complete beginner, the key is to push that rook's pawn. So pawn a5. What's so special about pawn a5? It's that either you get that pawn a6 and you stop that bishop getting that beautiful long diagonal, completely open sight. You're kind of like a lookout, like can see very far ahead from the lighthouse. But also if you play a6, well then, we've done it Soviet style. We fixed that pawn a6 a weakness. This b4 pawn's a lone wolf here. And so we can start feasting in the middle game. You know, castles, knight d2, knight e5, just hacking this sort of thing. But anyway, the game sort of moved castles. You know, Tang played the normal moves. But this is exactly what happened. Don't let that fool you. This is exactly our trap. We get them to play normal moves, thinking they're just going to play safe. They're just going to get an easy draw. But wait, watch for this. After castles, he goes for the fianchetto with b3. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that White he could have played the move e4 and taken that beautiful center. And if you want to avoid letting him get the beautiful center, you could have played bishop to b7 first, so that you're keeping an eye on that square. Knight d2 goes c5 and say, hey, I can hit the center too, bro. But instead we had castles, we had b3. I don't know why I played b3 other than the fianchetto to bishop. But fianchettos aren't all they're made out to be. Like, there are some cases where you should just play the simple obvious move, like stop trying to pretend to be Mikhail Tal, stop trying to pretend to be Vladimir Kramnik. You know, just play like your own game, play like the best move in the position. So we had knight bd7, knight bd2. And yeah, the whole point of Black's playing the Queen's Gambit accepted. This is the dream pawn breaker I play in almost every single position in the QGA, except when you're going to e5, like I showed you a million times before, is to go c5. And the beauty of c5 is you've got a pawn in the center. You can liquidate that guy on c4. He won't know what hit him. And then we're just going to get, you guessed it, rook fd1, c takes d4. You could keep the tension a bit longer if you wanted to, but Carlsen just wasn't interested in that. And now after the move knight takes d4, like look at this. Symmetrical pawn structure, like these guys are completely symmetrical, and these ones, like the only difference is like they have, you know, b3 versus b4, like doesn't seem like a, you know, just a small fry as it were. But now like Black could play the move knight c5. He could have put the knight there, had a little eye on that b3 square. Maybe in the middle game he's going to dream of going knight e4 and dumping that knight into c3. But instead Carlsen goes for the debate, rook to c8. And the beauty of the move rook c8 is because Andrew Tang made his mistake, as I pointed out before. He thought he could bring out the Mr. Beast, but actually it turned out to be drawing dead. He played a move bishop takes e6. Like, I know that you solved like 1,000 tactics puzzles, that you've got like 150 record score on Puzzle Survival on chess.com. Your Puzzle Rush score is 65. Yeah, I know that you don't need to play these tactics to show us you're brilliant at tactics, because this tactic is actually a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Well, before I get into that, I should point out that White should probably have played knight 2 to f3. That way, you know, you can try to do stuff like knight g5 and go pew, pew, pew. Let's take down those light squares. That's the correct execution of the idea. You want to make sure that all of the pieces are in the attack. Don't leave any of these men behind. I mean, look at this a1 rook. Like, he's itching for a piece of the action. Like, he's literally begging. He's literally screaming to get into this game. Like, bishop d5. He wants to go rook ac1. And I say literally way too many times, but you get the idea. So anyway, instead of, just bringing all the pieces in the game, making sure you've got that necessary firepower, like have all of the guns aiming like all the different angles, like one here, like one there, and one here, like all on E6. Instead, you just had to pull the trigger too fast. I mean, you got to be a bit more stealthy now if you want to beat the world chess champion. But F takes E6, Knight takes E6, Black moves the queen. Why did you pick A5, Magnus? I would have put the queen on B6 instead. When you're playing bullet chess, it's important to keep all of your pieces protected because you never know when you're going to leave one of them on pre, when you're going to blunder one of them, do a Botez gambit. You got to make sure your pieces are protected to guard against your own stupidity in these games. Okay, I'm kind of joking a little bit, but it's kind of a good point actually. After something like takes, we see you've got that beautiful bishop still on that long diagonal. You've got the knight ready to sink in, E4, C3. White's got these pawns, but what are you going to do with these pawns, bro? If you play E4, you're opening up this diagonal. If you're playing F3, you're weakening the king. If you're playing G3, you're asking for the next game to start already. So, yeah, these pawns are kind of stuck in place at the moment. I think that Black would have pretty decent chances. Now, yeah, while I was kind of trash-talking Magnus a bit, to be fair, his queen to A5 move is probably not the worst move on the board. I mean, he could have left the queen on pre, but he didn't do that. So we had Knight takes F8. Black played Rook takes F8. I kind of like my Rook on C8. Got a nice open file, and maybe why the reason Carlsen didn't take with the king is he was like nervous that Rook AC1. Because I Magnus Carlsen knows his chess principles, like the good old school stuff. Before engines were just taking over the world and not allowing humans like young chess players to think for themselves ever. Though these two important principles, like whenever you have one more rook than the opponent, you should trade off the opponent's rook so that only you have the rook's power and that you can then become Samson and not get your hair cut by Delilah. In any case, you could play Rook takes C1 though, and it actually turns out to be not so bad for Black. Yeah, you don't have a rook, but you've got the battery, you've got the queen and the bishop lining up, and if F3, look at this, you've got a weakness, and all you need to give is Carlsen is one weakness, and he's going to latch onto it, he's going to squeeze it, blood from a stone, squeeze that blood out of the stone right like that, and you never know what hit you. I mean, to be fair, White's probably still doing okay. You can go Bishop D4, you can do a little skewer just to, again, show your tactical genius. And then White's probably doing okay, because Knight B3 is a little bit too risky, probably. But anyway, instead we had to move Rook takes F8, and this is where there was a great opportunity for White to show a deep, Soviet-level understanding of the piece tension. Are you up to the task? I know, it's weird, I'm telling you how to play D4, D5, but all the parts of White's perspective. Well, go on, shoot me. I'm just the messenger here. Well, what was the move for White? Well, he didn't find the best move. He should have played the move Queen to B5. What's the beauty of Queen B5? This is what's cool about it. It shows that when double pawns are a strength, which is a key telltale sign that you are a future chess grandmaster. So if you take, they take back, and look at this. The rook is already piling up on that A7 pawn. The A7 pawn already sweating in its boots, fixed in place by the B5 pawn. If you go bishop to C5, they can go bishop D4, remove the defender, and look at this. Black's already sweating bullets looking at that poor pawn on A7. It's like, what? I didn't even move. What are you getting up at me for? I wasn't even trying to attack you. How could you do this? This is war. Take no prisoners. So yeah, Queen B5 was a really good move, and probably Black would have to admit his mistake and play Queen B6 or something. But still, the bishop comes in, the knight comes in, and the pieces are having a party, and Black is not invited. Or rather, Black is the pinata, and they're whacking the pinata at the party, that sort of thing. In any case, the game saw the move Knight to C4. Yeah, you're attacking the queen, but that's sort of the only good thing I can say about this move. You could have gone Queen A6, done a little counter pin, hit the pawn on B3, which is a big weakness, that little ugly duckling of the board. But yeah, he went Queen G5, he thought, okay, maybe he's not going to see the checkmate, but he did. He played the move F3. I would have gone F4, it looks horribly anti-positional to weaken this square. And I mean, Black's probably still better, but, you can try to take F6 and, try to do stuff. I don't know if it really does anything, but it looks what the engine says, and, the engine is probably smarter than I am. So that's why I suggest the move. But instead, Tang played F3. We had the move Knight to C5, and yeah, now it's just all falling apart. B3, big weakness. The minor piece is a lot better than the rooks when the rooks don't have good entry points and don't have good open files. Yeah, your open D file looks really nice. The rook might be like, this is the dream, but you don't know the dream rook until you've got that rook on the 7th rank, until you're taking that money in the bank, until you're making opponents shiver just at the mere mention of the blind pigs on the 7th, devouring everything in sight. eating all of the, I was going to say bacon, but they're not on the menu just yet. In any case, after knight c5, we had to move knight d2. Such a passive move, like the knight, like you're meant to go forwards in chess, not backward. You could go bishop a6 and hit the queen, but Carlsen says, hitting the queen, I guess, too elementary for a world champion like me. Let's attack a pawn instead and show why we're the champ. So knight d5, bishop to d4, trying to defend the pawn. Black sinks the knight in. I told you this was coming. I told you this was coming. It was to give you a spoiler alert. As we had bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3. You missed it, Carlsen. You missed it. You could have played bishop to a6 first, and then when white blocks the attack, you could take this and you anchor that pawn with the bishop. You go yum-yums on b3, and look at that. It's just GG for white. You got nothing. Your rooks are useless. You may as well take them off the board and get them set up for the next game. But after bc3, what Carlsen missed, and this is good. Like, it shows us that Carlsen is a human after all. Like, it is possible to play better than Carlsen in a chess position, believe it or not. Now there's a move, queen c4, loose pieces drop off, or more loose pawns drop off. But Carlsen, no, I got it all figured out. I played a move, bishop to f6, and I got a skewer, bro. What you gonna do about that? Well, what white could have done is he could have gone real kamikaze and played h4, trying to lure that queen away from the knight. And there are a lot of moves that black could play, like you could just move your queen and, let them, move their queen and take their rook and ask them why they weaken their king for no reason. That's definitely one approach. The one, if you want to again show your tactical genius, is you could play queen g2 and bishop c3 to win a pawn. But winning the bishop for a rook is better than winning the pawn, so that's probably what I would have gone for as black. Anyway, white played queen c2, and yeah, now everything falls apart. Boom! King h1, kill shot, knight to d3, threatening the knight to f2 move, but white can play the move knight to c4, and the game still goes on. Knight to f2, king to g1. You don't have knight takes d1 because knight takes e3 wins the queen. So you have to go knight h3, king h1, and at first glance you might be thinking, is that all there is? Like, is this going to be a back and forth? And the answer by Carlsen is a very firm 9. We had the move queen to c5. The point being, white actually can't take that knight yet, because then you've got a bishop to f3, and only legal move for white is to have the queen give up her life to save the dear king, showing who is really boss in this kingdom. But it's seriously though, if white does move the rook, like say you play rook a2, trying to defend the rook and cover knight f2, well, black can still go bishop h4. I mean, look at this, like these pieces on the h file. I mean, we've got harry the bishop, harry the knight. It's all harrying. Got knight f2 coming. Pretty nasty fork, and yeah, that's all she wrote. But instead, white played the move rook f1. Black took the knight, took the rook. And after rook a1 and rook f3, you're Carlsen, so of course you play the flashiest way to win when you're dead one. Because yeah, gf3, bishop f3 is again all the hot stuff. After queen e2, we had knight f2, king g1, knight to g4, like everything with a check. We're not letting him get the back rank maiden. And after king h1, the final blow, queen h5, threatening queen takes h2 mate. And Tang said, I've had enough. Like, I'm just a penguin. I'm not used to this kind of hot chess. I like it cool. But now he resigned because if you go queen e8, I take you. If you go g takes f3, then you have a chance to test your tactical vision. I do have the tactical skill of Magnus Carlsen. Well done if you found the next move. Next move is bishop takes f3. We lure that queen away. Queen takes f3. So that, after this, the pawn is undefended, and we mate with queen takes h2. If they play another move, if they go like h3, trying to defend that way, we just play using the pin. Rook takes h3. They can't take it because we got a pin from our Fianchetto bishop over there. Told you Fianchetto bishops are OP. King g1 and rook h1 checkmate. So there you are. That's how to play d4, d5. You know how to play it now, like Magnus Carlsen, using the Queen's Gambit accepted. Remember, the aim of taking the pawn is not to hang on to the pawn for dear life and die with it like with the people dying with the gold and El Dorado because they're shipshank. Instead of allowing our ship to sink, what we do instead is we give the pawn back, get the solid position, lull them into a false sense of security, and bam, hit them when they least expect it. So if you want to hit your opponents when they least expect it, do make sure to smash that like button, comment below with what you loved about this video, and subscribe to Illingworth Chess for 2 Grandmaster Chess lessons a day. absolutely free, no catch. Just smash that red button, get that notification bell, get me in your feed, and I will see you guys in the next video. And good luck playing D4, D5.